everyone, and welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing Sanjuro from 1962, starring Toshiro Mifune, and directed by Akira Kurosawa. So now, let me show you the description of this film from Criticlist. Toshiro Mifune swaggers and snarls to brilliant comic effect in Kurosawa's tightly paced, beautifully composed Sanjuro. In this companion piece and sequel to Yojimbo, jaded samurai Sanjuro helps an idealistic group of young warriors weed out their clan's evil influences, and in the process turns their image of a proper samurai on its ear. Alright, so let me show you my thoughts on the plot. The plot, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I liked it for the most part. I wish it was more of an action movie and more action set pieces than it was. It felt a little bit more like a comedy, especially when you compare it to Yojimbo. Now, Yojimbo had some funny moments in it, but what I liked was, we got to know these characters, but there was a lot of action moments, right? This one only had like 2 or 3 scenes, if that. Also, I'm going to be honest, we're kind of just thrown into the story, which can work sometimes. I just felt it didn't work here. I feel like I didn't get to know a lot of the characters or what their motivations are or what they care about in adequate enough time. It just felt super rapid, and I felt like I didn't really know what was going on. So because of that, I gave the plot a 3.5 out of 5. Alright, let's move on to the acting. The acting, I give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, even though I felt we didn't get to know these characters, I did have fun with them and the cast and whatnot. And I did love how loyal they were to Toshiro Mifune's character of Sanjuro. I thought that was fun. I always think Toshiro Mifune is the best in these movies. I love how he says, I need sake because it makes me think better. I think better when I'm drunk. And just the funny, quippy stuff. Definitely like a Western kind of hero, like a Clint Eastwood type. You could definitely see where they inspired each other and took from each other, right? Definitely more Clint Eastwood from here, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, can't really say much. I thought the women actors were a bit annoying, but I think that was kind of the point with their characters. But I wasn't the biggest fan of them. So overall, that's why I gave the acting a 4 out of 5. Alright, the set design. If there's anything that these movies have to a T, it's the set design. I always think they look immaculate and superb, fantastic, beautifully shot, beautifully well put together. The costumes are always fantastic, and you always kind of feel for the guys that have the classic samurai thing where they have like the horseshoe and then like a little piece of hair coming up. It's definitely not a flattering hairstyle nowadays, but I really appreciate the commitment to it. I also just love how organic and how clean and organized everything feels too, with how the buildings are set up, how the costumes are put together. All around just looks fantastic. 5 out of 5. And what I love too is Yojimbo, he kind of stands out, right? He kind of is a little bit rugged, a little rough around the edges. He definitely stands out from everybody else, which I also appreciate. So yeah, overall set design, 5 out of 5. Alright, the cinematography. I give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it looked really well. I was a little disappointed with the final battle scene. Not just because of how short it was, but I felt we could have gotten some close-ups or some kind of interesting angles. Because throughout the movie, there's shots like this that I thought were really interesting. The one that was in the last slide was really interesting. It looked really interesting, but once we get to the action scenes, they're so quick and they're so far away and distant, especially when you compare it to something like Yojimbo, where I felt it was a little bit more close action, a little bit better. I was a little disappointed here. And so that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5. Alright, music, 3 out of 5. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this style of music. I'm sure it's of the era. I'm sure it fits in with it. It just doesn't do it for me. 3 out of 5. Okay, so overall that brings my score to 3.9 out of 5, which is a 78% on Criticalist. Now let me break down my Criticalist score. Graphic language, there's some minor language, nothing serious. Violence, there's some blood and deaths. They're quick, but pretty gory. Now the film's in black and white, and obviously it's in Japanese, right? There's no, there's subtitles the whole time. But yeah, the violence is very quick, but very gory. Especially the last one. It's almost laughably gory to the point where, like, almost like a Tarantino film. Nudity, sexual content, none. Political bias, none. Family friendly, I would say for the most part. The quick gore might be a little bit too much for young kids. They might laugh at it, I don't know. Because it is a little funny too. But it is pretty shocking and intense. Entertainment value, I would say there were some funny moments with the characters, especially with Sanjuro here. He's really funny, definitely the comedic relief, and has some of the best lines in the movie. Some good action scenes too. I just wish there was more of them, and I wish they were a little bit more dynamic. They felt a little flat. So overall, would I recommend this movie? I think Yojimbo is the better of the two. If you were to pick one, pick that one. This one is definitely a good companion piece to it, but Yojimbo's a far superior film. And so is Seven Samurai and some of the other Kurosawa films. I would have preferred more action and less talking. There's a lot of sitting and talking. Kind of bored with. It just isn't as good as Yojimbo, but it is fun. I'll give it that. It is a fun movie. It's a kind of a comedy almost. So, overall, yeah, I would, but stick to Yojimbo if you just want to pick one of the two. Alright, well those are my thoughts on Sanjuro from 1962, and that concludes today's movie review.